I'm excited to be here, and I have Miss Jade here with me as well. Um, if this is your first time joining, please give me your state or country wherever you're joining from, and I will enter you into the drawing for the free bag of pupper training treats. Um, and I'm excited to get going. Hey, Julie. Yeah, and if you've been joining a lot, you don't need to tell me where you're from if I already know. Like some of the regulars, I already know where you're from. Okay. And oh, you're in Toronto right now? What are you doing in Toronto? I've actually always wanted to go to Canada, and I've never made it yet. Hi, Brian. So I'm actually doing this. Oh, tornado. Oh, yeah, that's not a good thing. It came through Toronto, and I'm like, oh, how fun. Yeah, tornado is not good. I am trying to spell Brian's name out, which takes a while. Okay, Illinois, and oh, that's scary. Tornado watch. Hi, Kayla. Arizona. We were just talking about Arizona. Who was I talking to Arizona about? We were talking about how somebody loves Arizona because it's hot. Hi, Karen. And I don't love Arizona because it's hot. So it's funny how some people really love the heat and some don't. Like this is my favorite time of year is fall, but I like having seasons, and I just don't like the heat. So I do much better. Hi, Emily. I do much better in the cold. Someday I might even move to Alaska. So I just heard, because I was at Pupford on Monday, and we were filming a really cool thing that I don't know when it will be out, but stay tuned. It'll be really fun. And anyways, down there, and I was asking how like Zach George and his family is, because I know they were in Louisiana was it a hurricane or tornado? Can't remember. But anyway, they're actually in Alaska right now. They do have family in Louisiana, but right now they're living in Alaska. So I'm kind of jealous because right about now, I always have this in Starburst for dinner. I have this dream of like retiring and going to Alaska and kind of being off the grid. It was Idaho, and it might still be Idaho, but I don't know. The older I get, the more I like really want to kind of disappear. Okay. Let's see. You have a little critter in your empty big pool, and Dakota is always fixated on it. What kind of little critter? Oh, a mole. Oh my gosh. My dogs would be all over that because pit bulls are terriers, and they go crazy hunting for those things. You took it out once and it ended up back into the empty pool. How did you get it out? Like, I don't want my dogs to like kill and eat them, but I don't think I would dare touch one. So I would be curious to know how you got it out. Yeah, anybody that wants to go to Alaska, It would be fun. I used to watch. Have you guys ever watched Life Below Zero? And it's kind of like a reality thing, and it's all these. It's different people, um, people that like really live off the grid. And I honestly don't know if I'm tough enough to do it. I'd have to live like somewhat close to things, but still away, if that makes sense. Pool skimmer. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Hi, Barb. Barb, if you want to let me know where you're from, I'll enter you in the drawing. Hi, Fiorella. I'm going to write your name down really quick. And then I'll answer Barb's question. So, 18-month-old that growls at strangers. So, at 18 months, you have a dog now that is a adolescent teenager. And some South Dakota. Hi, Renee. Oh, I love South Dakota too, because it's cold. Okay, I'm going to hurry and write these down, and then I will finish answering questions. Aaron, oh my gosh, we haven't seen you for a while. Welcome back. Aaron, where have you been? Oh, we have 3 people from Illinois tonight. Okay, so what I do with dogs that growl, last week was a rough week for me because I had 2 dogs that I worked with that were both human aggressive, and I couldn't touch them. I couldn't pet them. I couldn't touch them. And one actually tried to bite me. She could have bit me if she wanted, but she didn't. And but I definitely felt like the like muzzle punch or the brush, and she definitely could have bit. So what I do is I will give, if you can set it up. So like if you can give strangers some treats, I will ask the strangers to toss the treats to the dog behind the dog. So I'm going to give you a couple different scenarios. So if you can set it up to where the stranger has treats, then have them like only go as close as what your dog is comfortable with, and then have them toss treats behind your dog. So what that does is it allows your dog to retreat, and then your dog will only come as close usually as they are comfortable with, and then have the stranger throw the treat again. So you throw the treat behind the dog so the dog learns to back away, and then they come closer, and then back away, and then come closer. Usually what I do, and I don't recommend you doing this with people that you don't know, just in case, because you don't want to get sued if your dog bites somebody. And I wouldn't do this unless you're really good at reading dog body language, but I will do that for a while. And once I feel like the dog has calmed down, then I'll start to like offer the dog a treat in my hand. It's not like a bribe, so I'm not bribing the dog to come into me, but I'm just offering it, and I give the dog the choice. And if the dog wants to come and take a treat out of my hand, great. If the dog doesn't, then I continue to toss. The reason I say don't do this with people that you don't know is I have done that a few times where I've held out my hand and the dog has come up to my hand, froze, and I could tell the dog was going to like lunge. And so right then, like I just took my hand away, and I had the dog, the owner had the dog on leash. So I was like somewhat safe. But the dog came up and then decided, oh, this is kind of scary. I don't know about this. and then decided to like lunge and try to bite. That's why I wouldn't do that with strangers unless they're very dog savvy. You can read dog body language and you trust the person that's helping you. Um, I also just have rules like I tell people, my dog's around people, could you just toss treats? Avoid direct eye contact. And then eventually you could teach the dog like how to hand target. And I also tell people like don't reach over the dog's head because that's really scary for dogs. And also no direct eye contact. So I will often like I am still watching that dog, but I'm averting my gaze so that I'm not like direct staring the dog. And then sometimes I'll teach a hand target so that I teach the dog just to come up and touch my hand, and then I throw a treat. So that can be like a dog that growls at strangers. That could be a way of saying hi without being pet. Another thing I'll often do, depending on the dog, is I'll hold out my hand, and when the dog takes the treat out of my hand, I'll like very gently start petting under the dog's chin rather than over the head. Like just like that. And so it's very like calm and simple for the dog. But what we really need to do is change the dog's emotional response. So probably growling at strangers is, I'm guessing that maybe your dog is a COVID dog. So didn't get a lot of socialization. And so it's just more of a fear thing and lack of socialization. So what you want to do is pair strangers with treats. So I was working with a dog today that's really skittish around people and strangers. So there were some workers putting on a new roof across the street. We went out on the porch and we did the engage disengage. So every time the dog looked at the workers across the street, I clicked and treated. He's also reactive towards dogs. So I had my fake stuffed dog over by my car, and when we first walked out, the dog like immediately noticed the fake dog and the workers. And honestly, when I did this, I didn't think about the workers. We were just going to work around the dog because this is a dog that is really anxious around people and dogs. So we walked out, and all of a sudden the dog like couldn't focus, couldn't take treats, so we backed up. So you want to start at a distance to where your dog can like focus on you, do a sit, do a touch, take treats. That's where we started. And then anytime the dog looked at the guys on the roof, I mean, they were putting on a new roof, so they were making noise. Every time he looked at them, I would click and treat. Every time he would look at the stuffed dog Leroy, I would click and treat. And pretty soon he got really focused on the treats, and I would say, where's the dog? What are those guys doing? To get him to look. And if he looked and stayed calm, I would click and treat. And the owners were really against using a clicker. And I get that, but I said, just for this exercise, I like to use the clicker because it helps the dog disengage. So when the dog here's the click, they learn to look away. And this dog did that a few times. Like he looked at the stuffed dog, looked at me, at which time I did a click and treat. And we got probably, I'm really bad at judging distances, I would say 40 feet away from the stuffed dog. The workers were still across the street. And then the dog started kind of like sniffing the grass, turning sideways, like showing some displacement, kind of some calming signals, but didn't react. So I rewarded the dog by moving him back away. And I'm like, oh, let's go back here. Good boy. So we moved away kind of as a reward for staying calm, trying to calm his environment, didn't react. So the reward is moving him farther away. So it's kind of a combination of the engage, disengage, and then BAT. If you've ever heard of BAT training, behavioral adjustment training, that's when the dog like starts to show calming signals. You reward them by moving them away from the trigger. And so I kind of do a combination of those. But that's what I would do with the strangers. You could even go to a place like any store, grocery store, Home Depot, any place that's going to have people, and I would park a ways away and just get out by your car and practice like, oh, look at the stranger, click treat. Look at that stranger, click treat. And just teach your dog to notice the stranger and then click for that and then treat. And then if somebody comes up and says, oh, I love your dog, can I pet your dog? Say, well, we're kind of training and my dog's a little bit skittish. Would you mind just tossing treats to the dog? And you might have to place treats like a ways away so that the stranger doesn't have to come right up to you to get treats, because that could set your dog off. But having some treats that then a stranger can toss to your dog is going to help your dog learn, oh, strangers equal treats. So I would practice that. Practice the engage, disengage. And Barb, if you need that handout, if you email me, I'm going to put my email in here. If you want to email me, I will send you that handout. So yeah, I would try that. The other thing that you can do is what we call open bar, close bar, which is when your dog, so for this one, your dog doesn't need to do anything. It's just your dog sees people and it's like chicken falls from the sky or hot dogs or whatever. So it's like, oh, there's people, treat, 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 treat. And then the people disappear or like go in a store or something, and then the treat stops. So that's closed bar. So open bar is like, oh, there's a stranger and you're getting like, it's like Christmas and you're getting flooded with chicken. And then closed bar is there's no people, so there's no treats. So you can kind of set up that too. And you could do either one. I usually start with open bar, closed bar in my class just to create that association. And then I progress to doing the engage, disengage, and the look at that. So then the dog actually has to look at the trigger, remain calm, click and treat. So hopefully that will help. Let me know how it goes. Ellen, welcome, Ellen. Okay, I'm going to write down a few more names. Oh, you've been doing date nights. That's so cool. I don't think we did. When I was married, I was working 4 jobs, so we never had date nights. But I think that's really cool that you do that. But we've missed you, so I'm glad you're back. Yes, Brian, I know that you're from Illinois. You were part of when I said we have 3 people from Illinois, because I got you and Cindy, or you and Renee down, and then Aaron's from Illinois. Hey, Nicole. Okay. I'll write Nicole down. Okay. Oklahoma, right? So Julie said we tried out the violins. The girls didn't mind the violins at all. I had them sniff them first. Then I say, good girl. The twins started practicing and they didn't react. Awesome. That's perfect. Yeah, I had to get my dog Hallie used to my guitar, my violin, like all of that stuff. So that's perfect. It's like, so today I worked with a dog who they said, oh, wait till we get the fly swatter out. The dog will just lose his mind. So I had the husband like slip me the fly swatter behind my back without the dog seeing. And I did the thing where I brought out the fly swatter, so the scary thing predicts the treat, and then both hands went behind my back. The dog did not react at all. And it's because I didn't come at the dog with the fly swatter. I just like brought it out, treat, and then they both go away. And then fly swatter, treat, they both go away. And then I like kind of started moving it. The couple was amazed. They're like, oh my gosh, this is the first time our dog has remained calm around a fly swatter. So really you can do anything. So then I set the fly swatter down, I put treats on it, let the dog take the treats off the fly swatter. I would kind of be careful with Violins, just so the dog doesn't like bite it or step on it or anything like that. But good job on that. Okay, Fiorella, last week I asked about my male Westie pinning down a specific dog when he was near me or two next to him. So I used treats to distract, and they were fine being next to each other without my dog pinning him down or scaring the other dog away. But on Monday, I noticed that where my dog was playfully chasing other dogs, the beagle went straight to my dog to bite him. Oh, well, that's not very nice. Still, he couldn't until yesterday when he bit my dog's tail, making him scream. Since then, my dog hasn't been acting like he used to. He doesn't try to play with the other dogs. Yeah, so good job on the first part. Like distracting him, and it sounds like we got rid of the behavior of trying to pin him down or scaring the other dog away. But now it's the other dog that went right to your dog and bit him. Sometimes when a dog has like a bad interaction with another dog, sometimes the dog needs 24 to 48 hours to kind of decompress and may not act the same. So if you have a bad experience like that, I would maybe stay away from dog parks for 2 days, give your dog some time to chill out. And if you can, I would maybe just if your dog's acting different, then I would try to set up like one-on-one play dates with somebody rather than a group of dogs, and maybe stay away from the beagle, because clearly your dog and the beagle kind of don't like each other. I mean, they can probably play in the same area, but if the other dog is going to come after your dog and bite, then it's kind of not fair to your dog. So, give me 1 second. Jade's decided to chew up her bowl. I don't want her to chew up her water bowl. So I'm going to give her some water and then give her a toy to chew on. So yeah, I would actually maybe try to do a one-on-one play date and stay away from the dog parks for a while. Come here, Jade. Here, there's some water. And stay away from the dog parks. Or if you see the beagle, I would just leave, because one bad experience with a dog. So one of the dogs that I worked with today actually doesn't like dogs now, because in his own front yard on 3 different occasions, dogs came into his yard and attacked him. And I'm like, no wonder he doesn't like other dogs. I wouldn't either, especially, and this is one of the reasons I don't like electric fences, but where I live, there's a lot of developments that don't allow fences. So people have no choice but to use like an electric fence. Well, they do have a choice, but they can't put up a regular fence, so they just go right to an electric fence. So one of the problems is this, like, your dog can't get out, but other dogs can come in. And dogs came in and attacked him. And so now he doesn't like other dogs, and I don't blame him. And we don't want that to happen with your Westie, because every time he has a bad experience with another dog and another dog bites him, then he can, kind of learn to not like other dogs. So that's one of the reasons I don't do dog parks. I trust my dogs, but I don't trust other people's dogs. And if something did happen, I feel like my dogs would get blamed because they're pit bulls. So That's the other reason I don't do dog parks. So I would maybe give your dog a break, and maybe give your dog a few days to like decompress. If this just happened yesterday, I would maybe wait till Saturday or even next week and then try to play with other dogs again. And again, if you see the beagle coming, I would probably just say, oh, we're going to go. Especially if the other owner, if the beagle's owner is not going to kind of help or take responsibility and help with the situation and control his dog, it's kind of not worth it to take the chance of something happening to your dog, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay, Barb, I don't think she would bite. She settles down when they talk to her and I give her a treat and say quiet. Oh, perfect. Well, and you know your dog. So if you don't think she would bite, then you can ask people just to like not go right up to her face, but just hold their hand out and see if your dog wants to come up and take a treat out of her hand. Because you always want to give your dog the choice and control over her environment and let her choose to take the treat. And you do have that hand out. Awesome. Okay, that's great. Okay, so Nicole. So I wanted to mention my mom's puppy. So Nicole's been training her mom's puppy. Like super nice to do that for your mom. That was having some pee accidents, went to the vet. She wound up having a recessed vulva, which some of the symptoms are frequent urination, incontinence, and UTI. So I am glad you brought that up, because that is why whenever we have behavioral problems, we always want to rule out medical first. So this is a perfect example, because there's a perfect example of a dog having some medical issues that are contributing to the accidents. So, yep, after her first heat or whatever, I'm actually not sure what they do for a recessed vulva. But yeah, after a heat, hopefully if that clears up, then you'll be able to get on top of the potty training. But see, that stuff can happen even in puppies. So I often have people, Jake, can you come lay down? Come here. I often have people say, well, my dog's a puppy. My dog wouldn't be having medical problems. Well, I mean, even puppies can have medical problems. They can have, I just worked with a puppy that's only 3 months old that had a lump on its head that they had to remove. And yeah, this puppy is, having medical issues. So yeah, even puppies can have that. But I'm glad you brought that up. You get a gold star for that, because that's a perfect reason of why I always like to rule out medical too. And Brian just said that your dog does too, and now is spayed 10 months. Oh, still having problems licking and urinating frequently. So the other thing that can happen is learned history. So even though, Brian, is your dog still, well, if your dog's licking constantly. So Brian, have you had your dog to the vet, and have they said like everything else is fine? No UTI, no recessed vulva, like everything's fine now medically? Because if the vet says that everything's fine, then I would probably revert back to potty training 101, because during the time that the dog was having all these issues, they kind of like learn to go in the house. They can't help it, but it becomes like a learned behavior. So then we have to kind of start back from like potty training over. Good girl, Jade. I'm rewarding her for being calm on her mat. So I would go back to, interrupting if you see her starting to go in the house, interrupting, take outside, and reward for going outside. But if your dog is still urinating really frequently, it kind of sounds like there's something medical going on. And even though a dog is spayed, a dog can still have UTIs. So still have like frequent urination. And the licking constantly almost sounds like, yeah, there's irritation there and something's going on. So I would maybe go back to the vet and just say, like, my dog is still licking, still urinating really frequently, and see if there's something else going on. Okay, Ellen. My dog has started randomly lunging at loud cars or trucks when we're on walks. Nothing happened when we were on a walk. It really feels out of the blue. He'll lunge into the road, and when he initially started this behavior, we had a few terrifying close calls. I walk far off the edge of the street now. I try and disengage, but it doesn't work. So I'm going to answer that first part. If the engage disengage doesn't work, then that means you're too close. So that means you actually need to back up and increase distance between you and the truck. So I would almost go to a place where you can control distance, like start on your porch. Or if there aren't cars or trucks that go by, or like whatever vehicle like your dog lunges at the most, if those don't go by your house, try to go to a parking lot or someplace where you can kind of control the distance. So try doing engage, disengage that way, where you can move farther away. I would also do it with one that's moving or that's not moving. So, maybe at a Home Depot parking lot where there's big truck, they have the big trucks and stuff where they haul lumber and stuff. Try it there with one that's not moving before you try it with one that's moving, and give him treats for just noticing it, and then get closer, and then go back to moving. The reason that he snapped at you when you grab his harness, some dogs, when they feel like they're trapped and they can't go anywhere and they can't move, they can react. And also, if the dog feels like, okay, I can't get at that, so they're going to go for the closest thing to them. So it's called the dog's redirecting onto you. So instead of grabbing his harness, I would just, with his leash, just say, let's go, and then go the other way and move yourself further away from whatever he's lunging at. And if you've had some close calls, and that's why you're walking farther off the edge of the street, I would do that too. And if he's running out into the street and doing that, I would just have him on a 6 or 8 foot leash and practice the engage, disengage. And then if he does start to react, just say, let's go. And instead of grabbing his harness, just move him further away. You could also teach like a come front, which means the dog turns around, comes to you, sits, and looks at you. So it focuses the dog back on you while the other truck is moving by. So we call that like environmental management. A couple of times today when we were working with that dog, here, Jade, go hunt. While we were working with the dog, he kind of started whining and started to like pull towards the fake dog. And so I don't ever let a dog like pull me up to something. So I did come front, and the dog like turned around, came, sat, and looked at me. And then I gave treats until he calmed down. And then we went about like doing the engage, disengage again. And it's kind of hard to know what the triggers are if it's not the same every time. So I would kind of try to keep a list of every time your dog reacts, write down, okay, it was a car or a truck. What color? See if you can come up with if there's anything similar about it. Is it one that has a dog in it, or is it one with a kid in it, or things like that, and see if there's any similarity, to try and figure out a pattern. I know that you say you can't discern a pattern. So yeah, the other thing too is I would maybe put him on a freedom harness, so that you have the front clip and the back clip, so you have more control and you can more easily redirect him away. And I definitely wouldn't let him have like a 15-foot leash or a long leash to where he can run out like in the road. So I would shorten the leash, not all the way so that he feels trapped and is going to redirect onto you, but just so you can walk down the sidewalk, and if he lunges, he's not going to go out into the road, but you can turn and go a different way and without having to grab him, and he's not going to redirect. So let me know if that works, and keep us updated. Okay, so Brian says, yes, she was on an antibiotic. She goes outside fine, but still has problems. Oh, she had a bladder infection, got her tested again today. Awesome. Yep. And that's what I would do, because honestly, as long as there's a medical condition, it's going to be really hard to do the potty training, because it's really not the dog's fault. I don't know. Okay, this might be too much information, but women understand this. I'm sure that men get UTIs. I know they can, but for you women, if you've ever had a UTI, you know that you cannot help it. And so you can't really expect the dog to hold it even long enough to go outside, because it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to go right now. So we don't want to get mad at the dog because they really can't help it. So I'm glad that you got her tested out again today. Okay, Nicole, I'm always also trying to use positive reinforcement on my nephew. Awesome. As I try to train Polly while also trying to teach my mom as well. Turns out the 7-year-old listens better. Imagine that. I know, my mom doesn't listen to me either. I keep trying to, without opening up a whole can of worms, because my viewpoint has shifted, I'm trying to get my mom to get vaccinated because she's 78. And I've had a few friends actually pass away from COVID, and I was very anti-vaccination, and now I'm not so much anymore. But I'm trying to get my mom, and she won't listen to me. So I get it. So let's see. Sunday, when I was at my mom's, she informs me Polly listens to Tatum better. I watched her trying to get Polly to lay down, but she was using the hand signal for sit, and Polly was already sitting. Yeah, so that's why it's really good for everyone to be on board with the training. And this might actually be a good thing, because if your mom now notices that, oh wow, my dog's listening to Tatum and isn't listening to me, so maybe I should get involved in the training so the dog listens to me as well. So that might be a good thing. But I'm really glad that the 7-year-old is taking an interest and is learning, and that the puppy's listening to the 7-year-old, because if I remember right, Polly is for the 7-year-old anyway. So that's actually good. And good job using positive reinforcement for your nephew, because that's great. I had to tell somebody the other day, somebody emailed me and said, yeah, I can't get my husband on the same page. Actually, I think it was a post in the Pupford community. And I said, try to use positive reinforcement on your spouse and make it rewarding to get involved in the training or something like that. So yeah, the principles that we use on dogs can also be used with spouses, kids, everything. Not not always, because I have to tell you, hi Anita. Um, I have two cousins living with me right now, and I thought this was going to be very temporary, and it's turned down to like almost 2 years. And whenever they do something like actually mow the lawn or do the dishes, which is not often, I use positive reinforcement and I praise them and I'm like, oh, thank you so much for doing that. It helps so much. But then it doesn't continue. So I will say that it works 95% of the time on people, but for some it doesn't. And you like have to go above and beyond and like really lay on the positive reinforcement. But in my case, I am choosing to just like give them an exit date. So Barb is saying, when I do DMT, I say, look at me and then treat. What's DMT? I'm trying to. Are you talking about the engage disengage, like the look at that? I'm sure that's an abbreviation for something. I just can't. But from reading the rest, then yes. I actually, what I do is I use the clicker. So when the dog looks, I'll click, and so that the dog hears the click and disengages and looks at me. Or if the dog looks at the stranger or the person, and they disengage and look at me, I click. But yeah, if you can get your dog to disengage by saying like, look at me and then treat, that's perfect. Really what we want to get them to do is, like, your goal is to get them to just notice another dog or a stranger and disengage and look at you and get rewarded. So however you do that is great, as long as it's positive. You don't want to do like a sharp leash correction or do something aversive, but as long as you're saying, like, watch me, look at me, something like that, or a click, that's great. Hi, Travis. It looks like something not good happened, so let me hurry and read. Or I'm going to put your name down. And Travis, I remember you're from Canada, because you can't win. He won one week, and I forgot that out of the country can't win. That was my bad. I'm just in shock because Mickey got threatened to get knocked out yet again despite playing with their dog. I understand why you say that you hate dog parks, but it's hard to not go there. Oh. So did an owner threaten to knock out your dog even though your dog was just playing? Because that doesn't seem, that seems a little bit like not cool on the other person's part. And I have had clients tell me that their dog was just playing and plays rough, like my dogs play rough, which is why I don't go to dog parks. My dogs play really rough, and like Jade is super vocal when she plays. Like when she plays, she sounds really threatening when she plays. And I've had clients say that, other people have said, oh, your dog's playing too rough and your dog's picking on my dog. And the client will say, well, that's just how my dog plays. My dog's just really vocal. And if other people don't understand that, then it can be hard. So I had a lady once in a puppy class who we were doing the socialization part, and she had a little teeny dog like this big. And the other dogs were not being inappropriate at all, but they just went up to sniff her dog, and she freaked out. Like, she screamed, and I just said, ma'am, please don't scream, because that can sometimes exacerbate it and cause dogs to react. And I said, please don't yell. She goes, they're picking on my dog. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're just sniffing. It's fine. I won't let them hurt your dog, but please don't yell. And she got offended and left and never came back. But that was fine. But yeah, if other people don't understand, then it's kind of shame on them. And I mean, you could try to educate and just say, look, this is the way my dog plays. Like, they're just playing. There's actually a few, like, if, well, I know that Pupford has a body language course because I filmed it with them. Maybe like educating and saying, look, there's some really good body language courses here or on YouTube or whatever. And if you look at those, you can see that my dog's just playing rough. But yeah, sometimes it's harder to like educate the people than the dogs. And another thing that you could do is if there's a dog that Mickey plays really well with, maybe ask them, hey, would you mind like play date with your dog, just at one of our yards or at a park or something, and see if you can set up a play date with like one dog or two dogs and keep the group smaller. So I have a client who has a dog that's a little bit skittish, and so they are nervous to go to a dog park, which I don't blame them. So I actually said, because they live 5 minutes away from me, I said, bring your dog over and do a play date with my dogs. All my dogs are great with other dogs. And so they did. They brought their dog over. They had a great play date, kind of gave the dog a positive interaction with other dogs, without the dogs being like too rough and tired the dog out. So sometimes I have so many dogs at my house, it's almost like going to a dog park because there's 4 dogs, sometimes 5 in the yard. So, doing a smaller group with dogs that Mickey can play with might be a good thing rather than putting him in an environment where, people are going to threaten him. Because, if somebody threatened my dog, it would not go over well. So I'm sorry that happened. Now you know why I don't do dog parks. They can be good. I will say they can be good. I have been there with clients before and everything's gone fine. It's been beautiful. And I've even thought, wow, this is like, I would bring my dog here. But then I hear about something else happening and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm back to not wanting to go to the dog park. Okay, Ellen, it was a freedom harness, and I don't have one here. Pupford sells them. It's a freedom no pull harness, so it has a front and a back clip, and it comes with a leash. Pupford sells them in black. If you want a different color, Amazon sells them. You can get them right from the manufacturer, which is Two Hounds Design, although I just did a cost comparison for a client, and they were like $2 cheaper on Amazon. So even with, pretty sure that even with Prime, they still charge you shipping. And so I would look at what Pupford sells them for, if you don't mind just getting the black. Like, I don't care about colors. Although I did just order Jade a pink, bright pink, even though I don't like pink, but everybody keeps calling her a boy, so I had to order her a bright pink harness. So 5 foot leash, yeah, you could. A 5 foot leash is actually a good length, and then I would just make sure that you have, really good handle. I wish I had a leash here because I would show you how to do a leash lock, but I don't even have a leash here. I don't have Jade on a leash today. Anyway, there's a certain way that you can hold the leash so that the dog can't pull you out into the road. But a 5 foot leash should be fine. And then I would look at the freedom harness actually comes with its own leash. So it'll clip in the front and the back. And then if you're in an area where you don't have to worry about traffic, you can actually unclip the back and the handle slides up to the end and you can have a longer leash and still have the front clip. So that's why I like those. I will type it in the chat. So it's called a Freedom Harness. And that's what I use with all my dogs. Oh, so Travis says that she was barking at the dog. Yeah, and I mean, it's a dog park, and that's how dogs communicate, is they bark. And some dogs will bark saying, like, come play with me. So, like, when I go to bed, Jay goes to bed with me. And then Daphne will come up, and sometimes Daphne will start barking at Jade because she wants to play. And so she's barking at Jade saying, hey, come play. I don't want to go to bed yet. Let's play. And sometimes Jade will jump off and go play with her. So that's kind of like how dogs communicate. So to get mad at a dog for just barking at another dog is kind of ridiculous, unless it was an aggressive bark, but it doesn't sound like Mickey is, doing an aggressive bark. You can, I don't know, like what your area is like, but another really good way to exercise is hiking. If you're near mountains where you can go hike, that's how I exercise my dogs, is I'll go hike, or I will go to a lake and let them swim, because that's really good exercise too. And I have an older dog. I don't let her swim so much because she's gained weight and I'm afraid she'll sink. But swimming is really good exercise. That tires Jade out. Where I live, we have a few places where you can actually take your dog to swim. And they put the life jacket on them. They let them swim, things like that. So that's really good exercise. Hiking, doing mental enrichment. So yeah, you kind of have to take your chances when you go to a dog park, unfortunately. Oh yeah, Renee. I know. Jade is here. Let me show you. Jade. I probably showed you, and she's really wanting to go out right now, but whoops, there goes my fan. So this is Jade. She's black and white, and she has a purple collar because purple is my favorite color, but everybody calls her a boy. Speaking of heat, it's like really hot in here, so I have my like little fan going. But yeah, everybody calls her a boy, so I had to buy her a bright pink harness, even though I don't like pink. And then when they say, oh, your dog's so cute, what's his name? And I say, it's a she and it's Jade. And they say, Jake? And I'm like, no, Jade with a D, not Jake, Jade. So go figure. I should have named her like Ophelia or Petunia or something like really girly, but I'm not that girly, so. Okay, I am going to, disengage mark treat. That's what DMT stands for. Yes, perfect. Yep. Okay, that's a new abbreviation I might use. At first I'm like, what does that stand for? But that's perfect. Yep, disengage mark treat. Perfect. Okay, Mandy. I'm actually going to go back because I think I skipped some, and I'm going to take them in order so I don't miss anything. Okay, Kayla. I have an almost 2-year-old male neutered dog and just brought in a stray we found on one of our walks. He's not neutered. My dog never used to mount, and now he randomly mounts the stray. Okay, so I'm going to answer that part first after I take some Excedrin. Sorry, it got stuck. Oh, that was bad. I've had like a migraine nagging like all day, like trying to get worse, but been trying to stay ahead of it with Excedrin. So sorry, I just had to take two. So first, because you brought in a dog that's not neutered, sometimes the mounting is about social status, not dominance, but like where your dog is on the social hierarchy. So now because you brought in another male, even though your dog is neutered and that dog's not neutered, it could still happen with if the other dog was not neutered or was neutered. So sometimes it doesn't make a difference, but because your dog's neutered and the other one's not, your dog could be trying to hump, like saying, okay, this is my place and I'm above you on the social ladder, if that makes sense. And so it can be that. And either way, what I do is pull your dog off and redirect. Or you could give your dog like a 1 minute timeout and then let them go back in and interact or play. I have to do that all the time with dogs that come to my house for board and train, because sometimes the dog, like right now I have a dog that is not neutered, but he's been around my dogs enough, and I have all females, and sometimes he does try to hump them. My dogs are really good about correcting him, and then he'll stop. But if he does try to hump, then I say, hey, and I pull him off. I give him a 1 minute, like, let's chill out, and then I'll let him go, and then they usually go back and play. So that's what I would do. The best way to train with multiple dogs is I train each one separately first. So, like when I brought Jade home, she was the new dog, so I would take her separate and train just her. And then I still will kind of do separate training sessions with each dog. And like this weekend, you guys, I have 4, 5, 6, 7 dogs at my house. Like, don't tell animal control, because I don't have a kennel license. But I have my 3, my 1 foster, my cousin's dog, and 2 board and trains. So what I do is I like sometimes we'll have like play session out in the backyard where they all get to go play. But then when I do training sessions, I'll take 1 dog and go like out in the front yard, or put all the dogs out in the yard and just have 1 dog with me, and we do a 20-minute training session with just 1 dog. And then I'll take that dog out in the yard, bring another dog in, and do a 20-minute session with just that dog. So I train them separately before I try to train them together. So like with my 3, like now my 3 kind of know what to do. So I will do door manners or things like that with all 3 together, because they've done it separately. So now I can do it together. But until they know it, I train them separate. Because think about if you're marking and treating, and let's say that you do a sit stay and 2 of them stay and 1 doesn't, then, you know, you don't want the one that doesn't do it to hear like a click treat, because they hear the click and they don't know that it's not for them, that it's for them. So it's just easier to train totally separate before you try to train together. And then, okay, so you have the dog for 2 weeks, fostering to adopt if the owners don't show up. Yeah, so when bringing in a new pet, I always like to give the dog a couple of days to get used to the surroundings and kind of decompress, like 3 days. I give the dog 3 days like to decompress before you even start training. However, I do get the dog on a routine. So we get up, I crate train every dog that comes into my house. So first thing in the morning, it's out of the crate, we're going outside to go potty. Then we feed breakfast, which can be a circus at my house when I've got to feed all these dogs separate, because the puppies are always on different food. And I have Jade, who is a resource guarder, so I have to supervise everything. So then we do feeding time, and then 20 minutes later we do potty time, and then I let them do their morning like play session because they have all this energy, so they play. And then we'll start doing the individual like training sessions. And then I'll usually do some crate time while I go see another client, then come back. So anyway, I get them on a schedule. So it can be, let's go potty, let's eat, let's play, then let's do a 20-minute place or 20-minute training session, and then another play session, and then some quiet time, like, okay, it's nap time. You guys are going to go in your crate with a chew item. Get used to your crate. I'm going to go in another room and work or read or something so that the dogs get used to you not being there. And then after a nap or whatever, take them back out. And so get the dogs on a structured routine, because that's what they need. Then after about 3 days, when the new dog starts to figure out, okay, we have this routine, this is how it works, then you can start adding in like some basic training obedience type stuff, and then start to add that in. And then I always like to supervise certain things like feeding time, around toys, around chew items, just to make sure that your dog's not going to resource guard, or the new dog isn't going to resource guard. Like, I didn't know that Jade was a resource guarder until I brought her home, and then I found out she is. So I have to really watch around food time. So yeah, always supervise those things until you really get to know the new dog and see how your dog is going to act. And then, yes, if you do decide to keep the new dog, I would get him neutered, and that could, cut down on some of the humping, but I would still, like, if it does happen, just remember that sometimes it can be about social status. So you might have to still like interrupt your dog and redirect or something like that. Okay, Mandy. My almost 6-month-old lab boxer mix, Maggie, is very focused on distractions when trying to get her attention. She sometimes won't respond to her name when called, and then have to try and lure her attention to a treat by putting it in front of her nose to break her focus. Should we be concerned? Not really. For one, your dog's only 6 months old. And what I want you to think about is, especially for a 6-month-old, is when you're like working in your home, think about that as preschool. And then if you go out in your backyard, think of that as elementary school. And then maybe in your front yard as middle school. And then on a walk around the neighborhood as high school. So right now, if you go out to a dog park and expect your dog to focus, you're expecting your dog to pay attention and to operate on like a college level when your dog is still in preschool. So no, I wouldn't worry. That's totally normal for a 6-month-old. You should see the dogs that come to my puppy class. I always tell people, bring some pretty high, like don't just bring kibble, because when the dogs come, and I warn people, it's going to be chaotic. They see the other dogs, there's other smells, there's other people, and it's really, really hard for the dogs to focus. And then some people bring like just their dog's kibble, and the dogs are like, I don't want that. So when you're out working around distractions, if your dog is so focused on distractions that your dog can't take treats, then increase distance. So like move away from the distraction and start there. And then do some simple things like name recognition. And if your dog can't respond to her name, then back up some more. And start at the spot where your dog, when you can say Maggie, and she turns to look at you, click treat. And do several repetitions of name recognition from that distance. So if the dog can't respond or take treats or focus, then you've got to increase distance. The other thing I do is I use higher value treats when I'm in a new area with distractions. So Because Jade is a service dog in training, whenever we go to a new area and I'm practicing in a new area that she's never been, and I know there's going to be like lots of distractions, I will take higher value treats, which for her is usually the Pupford salmon treats. So, like, I use these, only this freeze dried salmon, and because they're more smelly, and for her, like, that really gets her attention. So I use that, and I use the higher value treats. You could use something like hot dogs, cheese, boiled chicken. Use something a little bit higher value that's going to get your dog's attention because you're in a more distracting area. And then kind of go at it that way. And then, and there have been times like when I was working with a dog where I had to like put the treat right in front of the dog to kind of lure it. If the dog still can't be lured, then you're too close. And then I would, again, increase distance and move farther away from the distraction. So that you always set your dog up for success, you want to start at a distance to where your dog can respond to her name, take treats. If those don't happen, then you're too close, and then you need to go farther away. So like when I go hiking with my dogs and I know that there's going to be squirrels and chipmunks and rabbit poop and deer poop and all that kind of stuff, I either like let them off leash and let them be a dog, but I don't expect them to do a lot of behaviors yet. One of my dogs I do because she's older. Or I take really high value treats. Like in that case, if we're on a trail, I will take bacon, like real bacon. And I will, every time the dog comes back to check in, I give them a piece of bacon, and then I say, okay, go play. So they come check in, they get bacon, and then they get to go play again. So because it's a really high distracting environment, I will use a higher value treat. And also, until I trust them off leash, I would I have them drag a leash so that if I need to, I can pick up the leash and like reel them in and kind of reinforce the behavior. So the short answer is no, you should not be concerned. That is totally normal. The other thing to keep in mind too is at 6 months old, your dog is kind of going from that puppy stage into the adolescent teenage stage. So at that age, dogs are less likely to pay attention. So it's like, oh, we just got through puppy stage. Now we have a teenager. So dogs are going to like push the boundaries, see what they can get away with. They get more distracted. They're less likely to focus. So that's when you really want to keep up that predictability, set your dog up for success, use higher value treats, and things like that. So yeah, it's totally normal. No need to like be concerned. Really, the only time I would be concerned is if your dog starts to like get really reactive and you can't get their attention. Then you would need to do a little bit of training and stuff. But if she's just distracted right now because she's 6 months old and wants to go play with every dog and things like that, then no, that's pretty typical and normal. So I would just keep up on the training and keep kind of doing that so that your dog can like learn. And I like to ease into it. I'll give you a really good example. So today when I was working with the dog that was reactive towards people and dogs, this dog was doing really well in the house. And usually when company comes over, if a person like shifts their weight or stands up, the dog like blah, 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 and like goes after the person to where the owner has to like intervene. And so we started desensitizing the dog to that. And so what I would do is I had the dog calm on a bed, and I would stand up, have the owner reward for the dog staying calm. Then I would sit down, and then I would like shift my weight. the dog would look at me. We were actually doing engage, disengage. And then I started to like walk behind the dog and back, and the dog did great. And so then the husband said, give me your opinion, because this is all fine and dandy. The dog's is like in the laboratory and being the perfect dog, but what about out in the real world? My dog wouldn't do this. And I said, I get that, but we want to set your dog up for success. And I used the same analogy about your dog's in preschool. And yes, if we go out in the real world, we're expecting the dog to be in college. And we can't expect that when your dog is still in preschool. So we want to learn these things in the house on a preschool level before we can expect your dog to go out in the real world and go to college. And luckily, the wife piped up and said, well, actually, with you here, this is kind of like college, and our dog is actually being really calm, which was good. So I was glad that she said that, because what the husband was wanting to do was, let's bypass preschool, elementary, middle school, and let's just go right out and expect our dog to go to college. And what I said was, when you had a 5-year-old, would you expect your 5-year-old to be able to go to college? Heck no. So you can't expect that from your dog either. So it was kind of a good analogy, and it made sense to him. And then I said, okay, now that your dog's done really, really well in preschool, we're going to go to elementary school, and we're going to go out on your front porch. And we are going to work with the fake dog and the people working on the house. But since it's still at your house and we're only going to be on the porch, like now we're going to move up to elementary school and see how your dog does there. And the dog did great. But I wouldn't go to like the dog park right off the bat and expect the dog to behave, because that's just setting the dog up to fail. So yeah, that was kind of the long answer, but hopefully that will like put it into perspective. Okay, Julie, everyone thinks Dakota is a male, even though I have pink on her. Yeah, and I had a dog, Dakota, that was a male. So I would maybe be, but I know your dog's a female, so I would probably, call her a she. But normally, if I hear Dakota, I think of male, because my dog was male. Okay. Cindy, I figured out how to get Joey to be less playful with Pepper. I leave them on the main level alone while I stay upstairs. They are quiet. They are better when we are not on the same floor and watching. Huh. Interesting. But as long as that works, I would do it. Like whatever works. So that's good. Good job. Mandy, that's exactly what happened to her at our dog training class on Monday. She does great at home, but other dogs and people made her forget what she was doing. Yes, and that is totally normal. And I always tell people, like, you should see the people when they come to, and I have to admit, the first night of puppy class, I'm always like, oh my gosh, why do I do this to myself? Because it's chaos. Like, dogs are barking, they're wanting to play, they don't focus. And it's not till like week 2 or 3 that the dogs actually kind of calm down and focus on their owners. But the owners are just like, oh my gosh, my dog's hopeless. And I just say, okay, this is normal. This is normal for the first night of puppy class. This is why I told you to bring higher value treats. And sometimes I have to share because, people don't listen to me, and they'll bring kibble and wonder why their dog doesn't listen. But yes, that is totally normal in puppy class. And like I said, it sometimes takes 2 to 3 weeks for the dogs to realize, oh, okay, we do 45 minutes of behaviors and treats. And we even do things like handling, and we do surface socialization and, basic behaviors. And then at the end, we do playtime. And so the dogs kind of learn that, we go, this is how class goes, and I'm going to get to play at the end. But it does take a few weeks for them to figure that out. Yes, Karen, my dogs will do anything for any treat. I am really lucky in that my dogs are all really food motivated. And I don't know if it's a pit bull thing, but all of my dogs have been super treat motivated, um, which is really good. And I'm trying to think. Actually, my dog Dakota, he was treat motivated, but he was more ball and toy motivated. So he was my search and rescue dog, and he actually would do anything to play with a Kong or play with a ball. So he was more toy motivated, but he would do treats. Um, but yeah, I like salmon treats are like my go to. So Anita's still working on getting the dog used to a treadmill. When it's on, but she's not going on it yet. When do I treat? Yes, for just watching it. So I would turn it on, and when she's watching it, treat, 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 treat. And then I would turn it off and lure her onto the treadmill when it's not moving, and then treat her for standing on the treadmill when it's not moving. And then if you can adjust the speed, which I'm pretty sure you can do on a treadmill, start it like really, really, really slow. And if there's a way that you can put a lick mat or a paper plate with peanut butter smeared on it, I know that when I've had to do physical therapy with my dogs and they do the underwater treadmill, it's like has glass on all sides, and they'll smear peanut butter on the front, and so the dog's constantly licking the peanut butter. Or you could use a big wooden spoon with peanut butter and turn the treadmill on really slow and have your dog walk on it while licking the peanut butter on the treadmill. And then you can slowly speed it up. And I would almost have her stand on it and lick the peanut butter, and then turn it on really, really slow. So she just barely starts walking. And if she jumps off, fine, let her jump off. And then if she wants to then you can turn it off, lure her back on with the peanut butter, try to turn it on again, and just keep doing that until she will stay on. And I would do the only time she gets to lick the peanut butter is when she's on the treadmill and it's moving ever so slowly. And then kind of get her used to walking on it that way. And if she jumps off, fine, let her jump off. But then it's like, oh, you want more peanut butter? Okay, you got to get back on. And then lure her on with the peanut butter, let her lick it, turn it on really slow. And it might take a little bit for her to realize, okay, nothing bad's happening. I'm just walking on this, and it's totally fine. And I've seen a lot of dogs who really aren't a fan of the treadmill. You might go to a physical therapy place and see if they have an underwater treadmill for dogs, and see if they would do a session. I don't know how much it would cost, but see if they'll do a session with your dog underwater, because it's easier for the dog to walk on the treadmill under the water. And they actually get the dog on the treadmill in the water, and then they have them lick the peanut butter off the glass, and then they turn the treadmill on very slowly, and then they speed it up. So you might try that and try a session of that first before you try to put your dog on the treadmill at home without the water. So that may help too. Joey loves the salmon treats. We won from the site. He will jump loops. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. I know my dogs love all of them. Okay, Peyton sleeps 12 to 16 hours a day, 10 months old. Is that okay? Yes. Most dogs will sleep up to 20 hours a day. And even adult dogs. Some people say, oh, I feel bad crating my dog during the day. But when I'm home during the day, my dogs will still sleep. Like they'll go in the crate when it's open and sleep, or I'll check on them. They'll be outside on the grass sleeping. So it is normal for dogs to sleep a lot. So yeah, 12 to 16 hours at 10 months is totally normal. And as long as your dog's getting, whoops, as long as your dog's getting plenty of exercise, um, like mental exercise and physical exercise, it's still fine that they eat or that they sleep a lot. Okay, Cindy says Joey's a picky eater. Took to the vet. Nothing wrong. If he doesn't eat breakfast, he throws up bile. So I could not get him to eat in the a.m., but 8 to 9 p.m. he eats. I tried various types and flavors of Hill Science diet. He seems to love the salmon. Then he sniffs and walks away. So what I would do is I think we've talked about this scheduled eating before, where you put the food down for like 15 minutes, give the dog 15 minutes to eat, and then if they don't eat, pick it up. And your dog will not let himself starve. So he will eventually realize, like, this is the amount of time I have to eat. If I don't eat, then I'm not going to get anything till dinner. However, during the day, he can earn pieces of kibble for like good behavior, things like that. You want to make sure that you're not giving like too much like table scraps or things like that, because dogs can actually get spoiled and then be like, I don't want to eat that stuff because if I hold out, mom will give me table scraps or chicken or things like that. And if you've tried everything else like broth, baby food, peanut butter, then you may have to talk to a veterinary nutritionist. And yes, when you said he will be more eager to eat if he thinks I will pick it up. So that tells me that he's kind of maybe trying to play you and be like, if I don't eat, maybe mom will give me something better. But if he knows that you're going to pick up his food, he'll start to eat. Then I would do like the scheduled feeding. And if he still is being really picky and not eating, then I would talk to a veterinary nutritionist and, see if they can offer anything. With Maddie's not a picky eater, but because she's on prednisone and, okay, so you never do table scraps. Then I always add with Maddie's food, because I'm trying to get her to lose weight from the pred, I add in like frozen vegetables. So she loves like the frozen carrots, broccoli, green beans, and I mix that in with her food and she loves it. And it gives her more and fills her up without adding extra calories. So you could try that too. I personally don't like vegetable. Well, I do raw, but not cooked. But she loves them, and all my dogs love them, and so I can add that into their food. Yep, and he's smart. So, hey, Jade, So when you said he knows that you will give him something better, so he knows that's going to work. So if you just give him his food and be like, this is all you're going to get, and in 15 minutes I'm going to pick it up, then he will eat it. But if he knows that if he holds out, you're going to give him something better, then he has got your number and he's playing you. So that means your dog is very smart and knows that if I do this, my mom will give me something better. And yep, today he did better because he got 15 minutes, and then by dinner time he was eager. Yep. So that's a great example of how smart dogs are, and how I know, like, we want to baby our dogs and we're afraid they're going to be hungry and we're afraid they're going to starve, but they're not going to let themselves starve. And once they realize this is what I'm going to get, I'm not going to get anything better, they will eat. So, yes, don't let your dog play you, because that's what your dog's doing. Yep. Growing up, our dog did that, because my mom would give the dog scrambled eggs and toast with peanut butter and spaghetti, and then my mom wondered why the dog wouldn't eat the dog food. And I'm like, why would he? He gets spaghetti and scrambled eggs. And I was in college at the time. I'm like, this dog's eating me. So, of course, he's not going to eat his dog food, because my mom was spoiling him to death. Okay, so Anita, water would definitely freak her out. She hates water. I'm trying to think. I know we've done this. I've done this with a few dogs. It's been a while since I worked at a vet clinic, but I'm trying to think if they put the dog in first and they slowly fill it up with water. So they have the dog licking the peanut butter first, and then they start to fill it up with just a little bit of water, and then they can add water as you go. But yeah, I can see where that would be a problem. So this is what I would ask. Why, if your dog hates the treadmill, why do you want to put your dog on a treadmill? If it's for exercise, I get that. But if your dog hates it, then it's going to be fun, and it's not going to be enriching and good for the dog if the dog hates it. You can train your dog to walk on a treadmill, and it may take more time to get your dog used to it. But if it's not, it'd be like saying to me, okay, you need exercise, so we're going to go out and run 10 miles. And I would be like, no, we're not. I am not running. I hate to run. I'm not good at it. And I have no endurance. So for me, I would hate it. It would not be fun. But if you said to me, honestly, I could not run the house to the corner. But if we go hiking, I can hike all day long and never get tired. So it depends. So if your dog hates water or hates the treadmill, then it's not going to be a fun form of exercise, and your dog's not going to like it. But if your dog loves to go on hikes or loves to play with the chuck-it or things like that, then find something that your dog likes and do that for exercise instead of something they're not going to like. So kind of an example, I'm watching a dog this weekend because his owner, you can tell that he's like a bodybuilder, and he tore his tricep muscle, it ripped. So he's got to go in and have surgery where they reattach it. And we were joking, and he says, yeah, that's what happens when you go to the gym and you're not as young as you think you are. And I said, well, that's why I don't go to the gym, because I hate the gym. And I have friends that go religiously every day at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they love it. And it's just not something I enjoy. So I don't go. And instead, I like to be outside. So I will go kayaking, or I will go hiking, or things like that. And that's what I like to do for exercise. But to make me run, or to I do like Zumba classes, and I like bar classes. So I would do that. But just to go up and lift weights, run on a treadmill, do the track, things like that is But doing something, that's still active, but that's fun, for me, would be hiking, kayaking, things like that. So it's kind of the same thing with dogs. Just because we think that it might be good doesn't mean the dog's going to like it. Okay. I am going to have to close in a minute because I think Jade is about ready to bust a gut and needs to go potty. So I'm going to hurry and answer these last few, and we'll do a drawing. Um, okay. Do you switch your dog's flavor? Yes, I do. So a lot of times I kind of switch off between two different brands, and then sometimes I switch off flavors as well. Um, so sometimes I'll do salmon, sometimes I'll do beef, but I do switch the flavors just so the dog has a variety. So yes, I do switch off flavors. Um, and yeah, sometimes there's additives. Oh, so Anita, you can't walk and she needs exercise. So yeah, I get that. Um, what about a flirt pole? So if you can't walk and if she needs exercise, what about if you did the flirt pole in the house and she could run around, chase a toy, and do that? Because I can usually wear a dog out in like 5 or 10 minutes with a flirt pole. So you could try that if you wanted. And yes, just the same with dogs. So I usually switch like I mean my food comes automatically, but I can change the flavors. So, 1 month I might do salmon and duck. And then the next order, I like to stay away from chicken because a lot of dogs have allergies, like food allergies to chicken. I don't think my dogs do, but I usually do then beef or something like that. So like once a month, like every month or every 2 months, I'll change flavors. And then sometimes I will give them something special, like I'll put egg on their food, or um, if I have leftover gravy or spaghetti sauce or something, I'll mix that in their food. And they don't get it every day. Maybe a couple times a month they get something really special like in their food, and just as an extra special treat, and I give that to them, but not on a regular basis. Yes, and Renee just said that some dogs are allergic to chicken. So that's kind of why I stay away from chicken as well. Um, so, yes, grain free is bad for your dog's heart. So I stay away from grain free. I switch between Victor, so I use Victor, and then Pottery, which is a company. It's like a multi-level. They wanted me to sell their food, and I said no, I don't have time, and I don't do multi-level marketing. But I do like the food, and I do like the ingredients in the food. However, it is more expensive, and I have 4 dogs to feed, so I switch back and forth between the Victor and the Pottery. So I will write. So Victor I can get from Chewy, and then Pottery you can probably just Google pottery and get on. It is more expensive, but it's good food. It's like freeze dried fruits and vegetables. The main protein is the main ingredient is a protein. And I am not a food expert, but my dogs have done really well on this, so I like these. You could probably do grain free snacks as long as the food isn't as long as the actual food isn't grain free. The pottery grain free supposedly has the ingredient in it that causes the heart problems. And so when I met with them and they were talking about, I said I won't do grain free, and they said, well, most of the grain free is lacking this certain ingredient. I can't remember what it's called. But they said our food has this ingredient in it, so the grain free is okay. I don't want to take that chance, so I don't feed grain free. But like it's kind of up to you. But that's what I feed. That's what I feed my dogs. But like I said, I am not a nutrition expert by any means. But it's just my dogs do well on that, and it's a medium, like middle. It's a middle of the road food because I have 4 dogs, so I can't afford to feed them like Origin or one of these like really high-end brands, because like I said, I'm feeding 4 dogs. But this is good and my dogs do well on it, so that's why I do that. Oh yes, Ziwi. So Ziwi is another freeze-dried food, and I actually used to use that for treats until I started working for Pupford. So Ziwi, I would order the smaller bag of Ziwi that's like $40. But that's what I would use for high value treats, is actually the Ziwi, and I think I would do the lamb tripe or the lamb. But I used to use that for treats until I was introduced to Pupford, and now I use their treats. So, but yeah, Ziwi is another really, really good one. And it's a little bit more expensive too. So that's why I would use it for treats and not for food, because I would go broke feeding that to all my dogs. But that is another really good one. I'm glad you reminded me of that. And Cindy, yes, I did. I mean, I used to feed Wellness. I fed Nature's Domain. I really liked the Nature's Domain that you get at Costco, but I live an hour away from Costco, so I stopped doing that one just because it wasn't that convenient. I asked another guy at work one time what he fed his dogs, and he says Victor. So I tried it, and I read the ingredients, and my dogs liked it, and it was good. If I could afford to feed pottery all the time, I probably would, because I like the ingredients better, but I can't afford it, so I switch back and forth. But that's just a personal thing. So anyway, okay, let's do a drawing, and then we will close for tonight, and I'll take Jake potty because she's being so patient, and I can tell she has to go. Okay, so tonight's winner is Barb Knapp from South Dakota. So congratulations, Barb. And Kayla, you're so welcome. Okay, so Barb, what you need to do is email hello@pupford.com, and I will email them as well. Tell them that you won the drawing for the live, and they will send you whatever flavor you want of the Pupford treats. So congratulations, Barb, and thank you everybody for joining. It's been really nice to actually be here where it's quiet, because now I have to go home to 2 board and train puppies who are in crates and are probably screaming. So it's been nice to like be here and kind of be calm and chill. So thank you for that. And everybody have a great Labor Day weekend. Everybody be safe, and I will see you guys next Wednesday, same time, same place. Okay, have a good night.